Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Good morning, ma'am. We can hear you.
Good morning.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Derek Deshaun Carter. A council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good morning. Edward Hess appearing on behalf of Mr. Carter this morning. I'm appearing by remote video conferencing. I did have the opportunity earlier this morning to meet with
Okay,
Mr.
give
Carter.
me just a moment. Is Mr. Carter in the room?
No, ma'am. He's going to be one of ours that we have to do mobily.
Okay, is all the three in with the red files, the mobile ones?
It's Mr. Carter, Mr. Solano, and Mr. Morgan.
Okay. I'll set this one aside. Okay, then, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Tevin Smith. Council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Edward Hess on behalf of Mr. Smith. I'm appearing remotely. I did have the opportunity to meet with Mr. Smith in person this morning.
Okay, you're Mr. Tevin DeAndre Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Smith, today's the date and time set for an arraignment. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about November 10th, 2022, at the area of St. Joe and Martin Luther King in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act of count 1 of weapons carrying concealed. It's alleging that you did carry a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that being a Chevrolet Cobalt, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.227. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 5 years and or $2,500 in fines, and there's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device required under the law. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty associated with that charge, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel, and you're represented by Mr. Hess today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution and to represent you if you are questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Smith, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed in this matter to preliminary examination, and you have the right to have the examination within 21 days of today's date, which is your arraignment date. At the time of the examination, you have the right to have the prosecution bring sufficient evidence to establish that there is probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you understand that, sir?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter, and you have the right to have a jury trial, or you can have a non-jury trial. At the time of the trial, you have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense to the charges. And you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You also have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. It's the burden of the prosecution to prove each element of the charge beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the purposes of his arraignment, Mr. Hess, how is he pleading?
Not guilty.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You're currently scheduled, Mr. Smith, to have a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward on November 23rd, 2022 at 1:00 p.m. That's going to be via Zoom, okay?
Okay,
And then you have a preliminary examination before Judge Ward. That's going to be scheduled on December 2nd at 8:30 in the morning, okay?
yes, ma'am.
Did you get a copy of the notice to appear?
Yeah, I have it right here in my hand.
Okay. And do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what's your home address?
320 Park West Court, apartment, M11. M as in motorcycle.
Okay, thank you. Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
Care Bears Cleaning Service.
What's your phone number?
They took my phone, so I can give you another phone number you can call.
Yeah, well, how can we contact you? I need a number.
810-285-5432.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
Probation.
And before which court?
I think this one,
Who judges it?
JMO.
Okay, that's before the 30th Circuit Court. I was not provided a criminal history for some reason on this file. What are you on probation for?
CCW.
Okay. Okay, counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Smith works full-time. He lives in an apartment in Lansing with his girlfriend and their 2 children. It's not appear from information available to me that he would either be a danger to the community or unlikely to return to court. If appropriate release conditions were set in place, I respectfully ask the court to release Mr. Smith on his recognizance. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Smith, being charged here with the count of CCW, but he's on probation for similar charge. There's also a notation that I have here of prior criminal history. I think there is a threat to the public safety. I also think that Mr. Smith, who was on probation, I'm sure, had some stipulations and conditions of probation, might have an issue with following some court orders. I think it would be appropriate for a cash surety bond. due to those reasons. So bond will be set in the amount of 5,000 cash surety. While out on bond, you need to report to all of your future court dates. You need to report on time. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to purchase or possess any alcohol, drugs, or marijuana without a prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to be in possession of a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release, and you can get that information on how to report from the jail, okay?
Okay,
Do you have any questions today, sir?
yeah, exactly. How much is my bond?
5,000 cash surety.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No,
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
They're all set, sir. Thank you. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus John Osborne. File number is 10-02278OM.
Yes.
Council appearance, please.
Edward Hess appearing this morning on behalf of Mr. Osborne. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Osborne, today's the date and time set for an arraignment. You have a file from almost 13 years ago, sir, for furnishing false information. Looks like you've been on bench warrant status a couple of times in this file. And then the last time you were on bench warrant status was May 10th, 2011. And I think you were found in contempt and had to pay $50. You were to be released upon payment of $100 or to serve 5 days Ingham County Jail. Your balance was $160. That was supposed to be paid by May 19th, 2011, or you would get an additional 7 days Ingham County Jail. Do you recall this matter, sir?
I don't, ma'am.
Oh.
Cause I wouldn't know about
Well, it's from a citation, if I can remind you a little bit, to the best of my ability. I have here a citation. It's from April 21st, 2010 at approximately 2:00 p.m. In the area of 601 Sadie Court. The allegation is that you provided false information to the police officers. Is that at all refresh the recollection?
Yes,
No? Okay, well, at this point, it's best to probably set this matter for a free trial. And then we can see if we can get some other information, because I don't have a police report, so that's all the facts I have to refresh your recollection as to what this incident is about. Okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your home address?
4037 West Jolly Road, apartment 32.
me your phone number.
7402-9456.
Can you speak up, please?
Yep, 517-402-9456.
Okay, Mr. Hess, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. So it's my understanding the only thing Mr. Osborne's being arraigned for is a bench warrant? One bench warrant or two, Your Honor?
This is the only file that I have. Is that correct in the jail?
That's correct, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a
Well-
bench warrant for a city ordinance violation from 2010.
Okay, understood, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Osborne has stable local housing. He is employed full-time as a nurse's assistant. Clearly, this is a case that has to get cleared up. It's quite old by standards of cases. I do understand the court might have some concerns about failure to appear, but given the relatively minor nature of this charge, I would respectfully ask that Mr. Osborne be released on personal recognizance and informed of his pretrial conference date. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I don't have a pre-trial conference date at this time. However, I am going to grant the release on the personal recognizance bond. It'll be set in the amount of $250 personal recognizance bond. We have here his updated address and a telephone number. It would behoove you, Mr. Osborne, to make sure you, when you receive your next court date, to be an appearance, because you would hate to
Okay.
miss work because you were sitting in jail on a city ordinance matter from 13 years ago.
Right.
And so if you don't receive a court date within the next week, you should be reaching out to the court to find out what happened to your court date.
Okay.
To make sure you didn't miss anything in the mail and to make sure you get this resolved, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, you're all set, Mr. Osborne. Thank you.
You will.
Okay, we're on the record in the matters of the people of the state of Michigan versus Devon Gould Bennett. I have file numbers 22-01445, 21-00660,
Hey.
and
Right. Yeah. See.
file number 22-01449. The council appearance.
Edward Hess appearing on behalf of the defendant for this morning's hearing only. Thank you.
Okay, and you're Mr. Devon Gould Bennett?
Yes.
Okay, today's the date that's set for an arraignment, sir. I do have 3 files here for you. First file ending in 1445. You have a failure to appear bench warrant in that matter. You were supposed to appear back in August 2022 before Judge Ward, and you failed to appear. You were supposed to appear for sentencing. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
You say you think so?
Yes. I
Do
can
you recall why
barely,
you didn't appear?
I've got a lot of things going on, but,
Okay. Okay, so we'll get you referred back to probation, so that you can have your assessment and PSI completed. Let's see here.
I have a funeral to get to tomorrow.
Okay, we'll get you back to probation, like I said, so that you can be assessed per Judge Ward's order, so she can get a PSI on that file. We'll address your bond when I'm done, okay? Let's see. File number ending in 1449. You were charged with one count of domestic violence, another count of larceny less than 200. You were supposed to be before Judge Ward on July 19th, and you failed to appear. There's also a PA 53 violation on this file that you would need to be arraigned on as well. The PA 53 violation alleges that you violated the terms of the bond conditions on this file by making contact with the alleged victim, Rosalinda Alvarez, back on October 8th, 2022, in the area of 1201 Wyland Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan. And so as to the underlying matter with your failure to appear for your pretrial, that pretrial will be reset, and you'll get that date from Judge Ward's staff. As it relates to the PA 53 violation, you have the right to have a contested hearing on that. And you have the right to have the prosecution put on evidence to establish by a preponderance of the evidence that you did in fact violate your bond conditions as alleged by the police report, okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, if you are found to be in violation of your bond conditions, you can face contempt. Contempt can be up to 93 days in jail or up to $7,500 in fines, and your bond can also be revoked pending the matter. Do you understand that?
Yes, is there any way I can make this right tomorrow?
I'm sorry, are you addressing bond again?
Yes.
You don't need to worry about bonds because your attorney's gonna address it at the appointed time. Right now, I'm trying to let you know about all three of these files that you have failed to appear on. You should probably focus on that right now, okay? You have another file number ending in 00660. In that matter, you failed to appear before Judge Ward back on July 19th. That's for a domestic violence charge from February 18, 2021, upon the alleged victim of Maria Nevis. So that matter will also be set for another pretrial, and you'll get that date from Judge Ward's staff when they return to the court. What's your home address, sir? Okay, you don't want to respond? Okay, Mr. Hess, you can proceed to make your bond motion.
Yes, Your Honor, my understanding is that Mr. Gould Bennett is going through some emotional distress at this time. My understanding is that his mother passed away. The funeral scheduled for tomorrow. And that's very, very difficult for him. That's at the top of his mind. I would respectfully ask that Mr. Gould Bennett be released on personal recognizance, especially so that he can attend that very important family event. I don't have any additional information that I can give to the court at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's not gonna be helpful to get him a personal recognizance bond. I can't get information out of him. I'm trying to explain to him about his missed court dates on 3 files, which shows that he has a tendency to failure to appear, which is one of the factors I have to take into consideration when releasing. And then he has charges of a violent nature. So personal recognizance bond will be denied because I don't have sufficient evidence or information before me to make that determination. Add to the file that he's scheduled for sentencing for, he's gonna be remanded to the custody so that he can get a assessment done. I will set bond on that one for $2,500 cash or surety. I'll note there that he needs to get a new referral to probation. On the other file, file number ending in 1449, which there is a failure to appear and a PA 53 violation. Bond will be set in the amount of $2,500 cash surety. Not to be in contact directly or indirectly with Rosalinda Alvarez. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. If you have any questions, you can ask about that at this time. And then on the last file, for which she failed to appear back in July for domestic violence, bond will be set in the amount of $2,500 cash surety. I'll remind you again, you're not to be in contact directly or indirectly with the victim in this matter, Maria Neves. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. If you have any questions, you can ask them at this time, sir. Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Further, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir. Thank you.
You are too.
Rebecca's on.
on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Tracy Deer. I found number 22-03111 FY. Council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Edward Hess on behalf of Mr. Deere for this morning's hearing only.
Okay. I also have file numbers 21-01858, 22-01219, 18-01231, 16-03449 FY, all from Mr. Deere. File number in 0311 FY, I have a felony complaint. The complaint alleges that on or about June 25th, 2022, at the area of South Washington and West Northrop, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of homicide, murder in the second degree. It alleges that you did with the intent to kill, to do great bodily harm, or to act in a wanton and willful disregard of the likelihood that the natural tendency of said act would cause death or great bodily injury, kill and murder one Joshua Birch. Said act committed without premeditation or deliberation. That's contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.317. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is life or any term of years. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 769.36 for each death that resulted from operating a vehicle, vessel, ORV, snowmobile, aircraft, or locomotive, and your DNA is to be taken upon arrest. There's a count 2 of reckless driving causing death. It alleges that you did drive a vehicle upon a highway, that being West Northrop Street, in a willful or wanton disregard for the safety of persons or property, and by operation of that vehicle did cause the death of Joshua Birch, contrary to MCL 257.6264. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 15 years and or $2,500 through $10,000 in fines. Vehicle immobilization is mandatory unless the vehicle is forfeited, and you must reimburse the government for emergency response and expenses for prosecution under MCL 0.7691F. You understand the charge in that file, the charges in that file, and the maximum penalty in that file?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Okay, so you have the right in this file to be represented by counsel. You are represented by Mr. Hess today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but you have the right to have an attorney with you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. And if you're questioned by law enforcement, you have the right to be represented by counsel as well. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, sir, you can request to have court-appointed counsel appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Deere, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right in this file to proceed to a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of establishing that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as a defendant who committed the crime. If this matter proceeds beyond a preliminary examination, you have the right to proceed to trial. You have the right to have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further defense to these charges. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. And then you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of proving each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand those rights, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, how is he pleading for purposes of his arraignment?
Not guilty.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. In this file, you're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Tony Flores. It's going to be November 23rd, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. And that can be held via Zoom. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Flores that's going to be in person on December 1st, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
Yes.
And do you have any questions at this time, sir?
No, Your Honor.
What's your home address?
1626 Rio Road.
You said 1626?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, did you previously give an address of 2616?
Um, I probably did. I think I might mixed it up. I think it's 1626 Rio Road.
Okay, sounds good. What's your phone number?
I don't have a phone number.
Are you currently employed?
No.
Okay, file number ending in 1231. This matter has been on bench warrant status since December 17, 2022. We were previously arraigned before Magistrate Milmore on this file back on December 7, 2022. And that was for one count of controlled substance possession, cocaine, heroin, or other narcotic less than 25 grams, alleging that you did knowingly or intentionally possess less than 25 grams of a mixture containing the controlled substance cocaine, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.740328B. That is a felony. The maximum penalty is 4 years and or $25,000 in fines, and unless sentenced to more than 1 year in prison, the court shall impose life in sanction pursuant to MCL 333.7408A. And there is a habitual offender fourth offense notice in this file. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of 3 or more felonies or attempts to commit felonies in or about September 16, 1998. He was convicted of the offense of delivery, manufacture of a controlled substance in violation of Michigan Compiled Law 333.74012A4 in the 30th Circuit Court of Ingham County, State of Michigan. And on January 9th, 2013, he was convicted of the offense of possession of controlled substance in violation of MCL 333.7403285 in the 30th Circuit Court of Ingham County, State of Michigan. And on or about August 18, 2016, he was convicted of the offense of attempted resist or obstruct in violation of MCL 750.81D1 in the 54A District Court of Lansing. Therefore, the defendant is subject to the penalties provided under MCL 769.12, making a conviction punishable with a maximum penalty of life if the primary offense has a penalty of 5 years or more, 15 years or less if the primary offense has a penalty of under 5 years, and the maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Does this recollect you as to what this charge was about, sir?
Excuse
sorry?
me? I didn't
You
understand what
recall-
you said.
Do you recall this charge and that you were supposed to be before the court back on December 17, 2022?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that at the time you were supposed to be before Judge Louise Alderson. This matter will be reset. You'll get a new PCC and preliminary examination date provided to you in the mail. That's why I want to make sure we have the correct address for you in case you are granted bond, okay?
Okay.
File number 01219. I have here a misdemeanor complaint. It alleges that on or about April 16, 2022, at the area of 1700 South Washington Avenue, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. It alleges that you made an assault or an assault and battery upon a Cheyenne King, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual under MCL 780.811A. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty in that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, in this matter, you have the right to proceed to trial as well. And you also have the right to be represented by counsel. I'm assuming that because you are requesting court-appointed counsel on the other file, that you're requesting it on this file as well. That's correct, Mr. Hess?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the purposes of his arraignment, does he want to plead not guilty?
Not guilty.
Okay, and you said it was 1626, Rio?
Yes.
File number ending in 1858. I have a felony complaint. I'm sorry. I have a misdemeanor complaint. It alleges that on or about June 12, 2021, at the area of 100 block of Denver Street, city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. It alleges that you did commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence, and that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Cheyenne King, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty again is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There is in this case a second offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of assaulting or assaulting and battering his or her spouse, former spouse, an individual with whom he had a dating relationship, an individual with whom he had a child in common, or a resident or former resident of his household, or of knowingly assaulting a pregnant individual by violating MCL 750.812 on or about August 18, 2016. And therefore, upon conviction, will be subject to enhanced sentence under MCL 750.814. That makes it a misdemeanor with the maximum penalty now 1 year and or $1,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence again may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you have any questions about that, Miles?
No.
Again, your trial rights apply in this file as well as your right to be represented by counsel and your right to court-appointed counsel. The court will note here that you are requesting court-appointed counsel and that you're entering a plea of not guilty at this time. That's correct, Mr. Hess?
That is correct.
Okay, and the last file is 16-03449. This is a collections file that you previously had a payment plan on for delivery, manufacturer, or police officer assault. Looks like you pled guilty back in August 18, 2016 to an attempting resist and obstruct an officer. You did have fines and costs in that matter, and it looks like you've not made any payments. You owe $755. Okay, you did make a payment. Let's see. Looks like back in 2016, you made a payment of $140. You should forget about this, sir, and not make your payments.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll note here to refer to collection so that they can meet with you and get a new payment plan on that. Okay, sir?
Okay.
As to these other files. Are you currently on probation or parole, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Given the seriousness of the most serious felony charge, second-degree murder, if the court finds that there's a potential safety issue with the community and potential issues with failure to appear, I would ask the court grant a cash or surety bond to Mr. Deere, but one that he can post somewhere in the low thousands of dollars. I would respectfully ask that Mr. Deere be given 10% bonds for his other files. Thank you.
Thank you. I have here multiple files. Several of which have allegations of violence, and then I have one which is a homicide second degree. Mr. Deere having multiple pending charges, prior criminal history for this court, and a record of non-appearance and avoidance of prosecution personal cognizance will not be appropriate. I do believe that based on the nature of the charges in multiple of these files, but particularly in the homicide, murder, second degree, that there is a threat to the public safety. Bond will be set on the homicide file in the amount of $150,000 cash surety. There will also be GPS tether. I'm also going to add a scram tether to be added upon release. There'll be a no contact order in place. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Scott Birch or Melissa Orville. Need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates on time if you post your bond. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol, drugs, or any other prescriptions without a valid prescription. And you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Do you have any questions on that file?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you're also not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon while out on bond. As to file number 18-01231, this matter has been in bench warrant status for 2 years on felony charge. Personal cognizance not being appropriate due to the likelihood that you won't reappear in court. I'll set bond in that matter at $500 cash surety. All the bond conditions stated previously will apply to this, including you're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court, and you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Do you have any questions about that file, sir?
No, Your Honor.
File number ending in 1219. Bond will be set in the amount of $500 cash surety. There'll be a no contact order that's in place for the protection of Cheyenne King. You're not to contact her directly or indirectly. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. Do you understand what the no contact order means when I say directly or indirectly?
Yes.
Okay. And so also, if you're to postpone into that matter, previous mentioned bond conditions will also apply on this file. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to use or possess alcohol, drugs, or marijuana without a valid prescription. You're not to be in possession of a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions on that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and the last file, DV second offense. This is file number ending in 1858. Bond will be set in the amount of $500 cash surety, and again, another no contact order and all the other bond conditions I stated will apply to this. There's a no contact order as to Cheyenne King. So you're not to be in communication with her at all. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thank
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Sean Cassidy. File number is 20-00507. Can I have your appearance, counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Edward Hess appearing for this hearing only on behalf of Mr. Cassidy.
Okay, and you are Mr. Sean Cassidy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Cassidy, before the court today on an arraignment because you were sentenced, it looks like, to report to jail for 145 days, credit for 12. You were supposed to report to the Ingham County Jail by 5 p.m. back on July 5th, 2022. And that you were supposed to be screened for the CATS substance abuse program per the order of Judge Ward, but you never reported. Did you get lost?
Yes,
Okay. Well, I'm glad you found your way. At this point, what we'll do is you'll be remanded to the custody of the Ingham County Jail. And I'll have this set for a contempt hearing before Judge Ward, since you failed to comply with her order, okay? Do you have any questions today?
no,
Okay, so you'll be remanded to the custody of the jail to serve the balance of your 145 days. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Ariana Lachey Duke, file number 21-02940. I also have 21-02115, 21-02114, and 18-02360. Council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Edward Hess on behalf of Ms. Duke for today's hearing only. Thank you.
Okay, and file number 02114, Ms. Duke. You were scheduled for an arraignment on this file for no ops. An arraignment was scheduled for September 20th at 8:15. You failed to appear.
Yes, ma'am, I was pregnant during the time.
Okay, well, a bench warrant was issued, so I have here a citation. Citation alleges that on July 28, 2021, at approximately 9:34 in the morning in the area of Washington, out or near Baker, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly operate a motor vehicle while your license was not valid or it was improper. So that's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty, ma'am, is 90 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Do you understand the charge in that file?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then file number ending in 2115.
With the same date, correct? It should be like a
I
no
was gonna
insurance.
say, I'm inclined to believe it's the same citation
Yep.
from the same date, time, and it is. And you got a ticket as well for no insurance under the insurance code, which is also a misdemeanor, maximum penalty 90 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Do you understand the charges in that file as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in those files, you have the right to be represented by counsel and you have the right to have a trial. You can have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. You also have the right to be represented by counsel. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have court-appointed counsel represent you at the expense of the public. And so you have one more file 21-02940. I have a felony complaint in this one. This one alleges that on or about August 26, 2021 at 3920 Hartford, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of assault with a dangerous weapon, that's also called a felonious assault, that you did make an assault upon an Artinius Smith with a dangerous weapon, that being a car, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. Now, this was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.82. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon your arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon Artinius Smith, an individual with whom you have a child in common, or a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship. That this was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a second offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of assaulting or assaulting and battering his or her spouse, former spouse, or an individual with whom he or she had a dating relationship, an individual with whom he or she had a child in common, or a resident or former resident of his or her household, or of knowingly assaulting a pregnant individual by violating MCL 750.812 on or about October 7, 2020, and therefore upon conviction will be subject to an enhanced sentence under MCL 750.814. That makes the domestic violence a misdemeanor with the maximum penalty now being 1 year and or $1,000 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge in that file and the maximum penalty in that charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in this file, you have the right to proceed to a preliminary examination, and you have the right to have your examination within 21 days of today's date. You have the right at the time of the preliminary examination to have the prosecution meet their burden of establishing that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant in the crime. You understand your right as to a preliminary examination?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then again, you have a right to have a jury trial in this file as well. At the time of trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense of the charge. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charges that are being brought against you. They have to prove each element at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and as to your right to court-appointed counsel, if you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney represent you at the expense of the public. You understand your right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
She requested court-appointed counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, and for the
Would it be
purposes of,
possible to get Robert Palmer?
I don't think you get to select who you get.
Okay.
We will
I just know
note
he's
here,
represented me before.
okay, it's possible you may get them. I don't know how they do it internally when it's time to assign, and if you had something pending with them now, it may be likely that you represent them, but all I
Okay.
know is that I'll note here that you're gonna be requesting court appointed counsel. You must have completed an intake already. The public defender's office will make a determination as to your eligibility to be represented by them, and then they'll assign your cases to an attorney there if you are represented, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
At the Shift Group in Charlotte, it's an automotive assembly plant.
Okay.
I also, I have a newborn, I breastfeed. He hasn't had a bottle since I got here yesterday.
What's your home address?
5500 K North Road, apartment 18. Also, when I was getting detained yesterday, LPD didn't let me secure my house, so I got a call and got notified that my house was set on fire yesterday, so I do have to meet with my property management sometime soon to figure out what's going on there.
It's an apartment 18, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
That's in
Michigan.
Lansing?
Yep, Lansing, Michigan, 48911.
What's your phone number, ma'am?
517-377-5241.
You're currently scheduled in this matter, that is the assault with a dangerous weapon, to have a probable cause conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's going to be on November 23rd, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. You have a preliminary examination before me, and that's going to be on December 2nd, 2022
Okay.
at 9 o'clock in the morning. Did you get a notice to appear, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Is this the one over the Zoom? The Zoom meeting?
Your probable cause conference will be, or can be via Zoom. The preliminary examination will be in person, okay?
Yes, the 9 a.m. one, correct? 12 to 9
Yeah,
a.m.?
that 12/2 at 9 a.m., that's in person.
Okay,
Okay, your two traffic offenses, those will be set for a pretrial. You'll get those dates in the mail, okay, ma'am?
yes, ma'am.
Then one last file, you owe, looks like $828 on a file. Yeah, we're gonna refer that to collection so you can make a payment plan, okay?
Okay. I do have a newborn, so that was kind of hard to pay right now.
Okay, well, it's a hefty fee, so I didn't think you had $828 laying around today. You can make a payment plan with them. As to the city cases, you're gonna wanna make sure you monitor your mail, because if you don't get a notice for a date, you wanna make sure you're finding out when it is so that you don't end up with another bench warrant, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you
I don't
currently
know
on
if it
probation
matters.
or, are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
Okay, for each of these matters, she's entering a plea of not guilty, correct?
He's muted.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know how I got muted. Yes, Your Honor, not guilty.
Okay, very good. You can address bond, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Your Honor. It does sound like Ms. Duke has got quite a few cases here to sort out. That being said, she's got very good employment at the Shift Group Automotive Factory in Charlotte. It's a full-time job. She does have stable housing. Unfortunately, it sounds like there was a fire, so she's got to address that. My understanding is that the individual who's the alleged victim of the felonious assault, actually, there's a court order for him to stay away from Ms. Duke, the PPO. So
Yes.
that's already in place. Of course, we understand the court may also impose a PA 53 order as as strongly encouraged by state law, Ms. Duke to stay away from this individual as well. And she's prepared to do that. She understands that. I would respectfully ask the court to release Ms. Duke on personal recognizance. As she noted, her main concern right now is her infant. She does not believe that her infant has eaten since she was arrested at around 1 p.m. yesterday. I understand that there are some concerns about failure to appear and having multiple cases, but to be honest, Your Honor, with the exception of the felony case, these other cases appear relatively minors, and I believe that appropriate bond conditions would protect the safety of the public and ensure Ms. Duke's return to court. So I would ask that she be released on personal recognizance. Thank you.
Thank you. As to the city matters, the bond will be set in the amount of $200 each personal recognizance. And make sure you appear to court on those dates once you get those court dates. As to the felony file, bond will be set in the amount of $5,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Artenius Smith lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Artenius Smith. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Is that bond 10% or is it
No, I
5,000?
said personal recognizance.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much.
No problem. So you just need to make sure you appear for all of your court dates on time. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription, ma'am. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. And on the felony file, you're going to have to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You should receive information as to how you would report. You'll be reporting to them weekly, okay, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, wait, do I ask, I'm sorry. Do I ask you about that, the $100 thing? It's a charge on my thing and it says I was driving like under the influence, like I,
That's a different jurisdiction. Yeah, it's a different jurisdiction.
yeah.
This judge will not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry then.
No
I'm sorry.
problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, and I'll wait first. I'm gonna put Morgan on and,
Yes, ma'am, it'll just be a moment.
yep, no problem.
Morgan?
Oh, I do.
Yes.
You want this stuff up?
Oh, you can just let me know.
Yes, ma'am, so.
Okay, what's your name, sir?
Ma'am, my name is Andreas Morgan. Yeah,
Okay.
and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. We're on the
Yeah.
record in the matter of the people of the city of Lansing versus Andres Morgan. This is file number 22-02698 OM, council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Edward Hess on behalf of Mr. Morgan for today's hearing only.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, in this file, you were supposed to be before Judge Ward back on October 31st, where you were charged with 1 count of furnishing false information, 1 count of failure to obey an officer. Did you forget to come to court, sir?
No, I did not. I had it in good memory, and I had planned to go. Your Honor, at that particular time, I was at McLaren Hospital in the CMH department. You know, I did like 8 days there. It was a court order petition by Judge Dunn at that time, and I didn't get out until the first. Yeah, and then after on the third, no, on the second, I went to my public defender's office on Washington Square. I got her name. Her name is Robin. Aaron something. And
Aaron Robinson?
Yeah. And I went in there, and then I wanted to ask that I have a warrant. And, she wasn't there. I got her card, and then because they said they couldn't, I don't know if I have a warrant, I would contact her. A couple days later, what's going on is I playing to contact her, and then I knew the warrant was out, and this is it right here. So I didn't try to forget. I couldn't go because I was a CMH. I'm a member of it.
And I see that some of the days burn down here, and then the people burn down here. Change, man.
Okay, we'll get that, I'm not sure what the background noise is, but we'll get that matter reset for you, sir.
Okay.
Pre-trial. You
Okay.
also have another file number 22-02699. That's also before Judge Ward. That's also another citation that you had and you were previously arraigned on. Then it's for furnishing false information and failure to obey an officer. And you were supposed to be before her, it looks like, also on the 31st.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get that one reset as well, okay?
Yes.
And then I have one more file. 22-02797. You were supposed to be before Judge Ward for a trespassing on that one, also on the 31st, okay?
Okay.
We'll get each of these reset for a new pretrial date, and we'll get those dates to you. What's your address, sir?
5656 Ashley Drive.
You said Ashley,
Yeah, like a female's name. Yeah.
and that's in Lansing?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, are you employed, sir?
Yes, I am. Well, I'm just doing my own employment, and I record a little music, instrumentals, and samples, and give it out to some of the local artists. I make a little bit, like maybe $300-400 a month, on charging.
What's your
And
phone
then,
number?
yeah, well, I do little deals, so because it's gonna, I'm trying to give them an opportunity to put their voice out there, under my company. But between
What's your phone number, sir?
517 57516 49. I do know.
517, say, give it to me again.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
Give it that number again.
517 575 1649.
Okay. Mr. Hess, you can address bond.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I had a nice opportunity to speak with Mr. Morgan this morning. He is an individual with profound mental health treatment needs, as he stated. He is a patient at Community Mental Health. He did state to the court that the reason for his failure to appear is because he was under probate court orders from Judge Dunnings. I have no independent verification of that, but I also have no reason to doubt what Mr. Morgan has to say. I would respectfully ask that the court release Mr. Morgan on his personal recognizance. It does not appear that he's a danger to the community. Any likelihood of failure to appear would probably have to do with if he does not receive his mental health treatment or his medications. I believe that releasing him on personal recognizance will give him the opportunity to re-engage with community mental health, to obtain the prescriptions that he needs. My understanding is that he recently ran out of medicine and wasn't able to take his medicine, and that's maybe where some of this alleged confusion came from. So I would ask that Mr. Morgan be released on personal recognizance. It would be appropriate for the court to enter an order requiring Mr. Morgan to comply with any mental health care that is prescribed to him by a physician or by CMH. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good. Give me just a moment, I need to check on something. Okay, sounds good. I will enter an order requiring you, sir, to go and re-engage with community mental health and get your necessary medication, okay, sir?
Yes, yeah.
And bond in each of the files will be reinstated at $100 personal recognizance, okay?
Okay. It was see, what else has been a problem is like the local hospitals, right? The ER, and they're not really there for prescription fillings and stuff like that. And so some of the transactions did come from me saying I wanted to get my script there, and I did give a hard time a little bit.
Mr. Morgan, I know you want to share with the judge, but I have to advise you not to talk about the facts of your cases since you are being.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good
Do
idea.
you have any questions, sir?
No.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
We're all set, sir. Thank you.
Hey, have a good day.
You too.
Ma'am, which one would you like to do next?
We can do Carter.
All right, sounds good. Here you go, Mr. Carter.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Derek Deshaun Carter, counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Edward Hess on behalf of Mr. Carter for this afternoon's hearing only.
Okay, Mr. Carter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Your Honor.
Okay, today's the day, Mr. Carter, set for your arraignment. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about November 9, 2022, at the area of 601 Sadie Court, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act of count 1 of home invasion first degree. It alleges that you did break and enter or did enter without permission a dwelling located at 615 Sadie Court, apartment 39, and while entering, present in, or exiting, did commit a larceny or an assault, and while entering, present in, or exiting the dwelling, Victor Ortega was lawfully present therein, that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.11082. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is 20 years and or $5,000. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law for any conviction arising out of the same transaction. There's a count 2 of robbery unarmed. It alleges that you did, in the course of committing a larceny of a phone, assault or put in fear a person present, that person being a Victor Ortega. This is contrary to MCL 750.530. It's a felony and the maximum penalty is 15 years and your DNA is to be taken upon arrest. There's a count 3 of robbery unarmed, alleging that you did, in the course of committing a larceny of keys and a phone, use force or violence against a person present, that person being a Paul Ghana, contrary to MCL 750.530. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 15 years and your DNA is to be taken upon arrest. Count 4, controlled substance possession of methamphetamine and ecstasy, alleges that you did knowingly and intentionally possess methamphetamine contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.74032 BI. That's a felony and the maximum penalty is 10 years and or $15,000 in fines. There's a count 5 of assault or assault and battery. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon the following person, that being a Kaylee McKinhill, contrary to MCL 750.811. Restitution is possible, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There is a count 6 of assault or assault and battery, alleging that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a person by the name of Victor Ortega, contrary to MCL 750.811. Restitution again may have resulted, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. Again, that's a misdemeanor and the maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Do you have any questions about any of those charges? And do you understand the maximum penalty assessed in each charge? Okay.
No, I do
Mr.
not
Carter?
understand, Your Honor.
I'm sorry? Can you repeat what you said?
Yes, I said I do not understand the charges. I want to speak to my lawyer.
You want to speak to your lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, we can make arrangements for you to speak to a lawyer. Mr. Hess is here today for the purposes of your arraignment only. Do you want me to put you in a private meeting room, Mr. Hess?
That's fine. I'll be happy to meet with Mr. Carter in a breakout room.
You're breaking up. I can't hear right now. I can't.
1 second, sir.
I really didn't understand what the Zoom.
Your Honor, Edward Hess here.
Okay, we have Mr. Carter back. Mr. Carter, I previously asked you if you understood the charges and the maximum penalty, and you asked to speak to the attorney. Do you now have a better understanding?
Yes,
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel, and Mr. Hess is representing you again for today's purposes only. But you do have the right to have an attorney to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you at no cost to you. Do you understand that?
yes, I do.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Carter, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a preliminary examination in this file, and you have the right to have it within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your examination, you have the right to have the prosecution present sufficient evidence to establish probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crime. You have the right to proceed to a trial, and you can have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. And at the time of trial, you have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further defense to these charges. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you at trial. And you have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of each of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have any questions about your rights right now, sir? Okay, is he entering a plea of not guilty today?
Not guilty.
Okay, Mr. Carter, you have a probable cause conference before Judge Buchanan on November 23rd, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. that can be held via Zoom. You have a preliminary examination in person here at the court. That's going to be on December 1st, 2022 at 9:30. Did he get a copy of his notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. It does sound like these are some relatively serious felony charges, Your Honor. That being said, Mr. Carter is employed full-time. He has stable housing. I would respectfully ask that the court consider, with appropriate court orders being in place, for Mr. Carter being released on personal recognizance in this matter, specifically court orders requiring Mr. Carter to stay away from the individuals named as alleged victims. That's all that I have to say, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Carter, what's your home address?
601 Sadie Court.
Is there an apartment?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
What is it?
Your Honor, 601 Sadie Court, apartment 40.
Okay, do you have a phone number?
Yes, 517-319-7982.
Okay, There's some information before the court that leads me to believe that there is a concern about his mental health. And also the charges here and other previous convictions on Mr. Carter's criminal history cause the court to believe that there is a threat to the public safety, and that Mr. Carter does need to seek some mental health treatment. My understanding is that there is some treatment that is available. I'm going to remand him to the custody of the Ingham County Jail so that he can get properly treated. Bond will be denied at this time. I will note that he is allowed to be released to the custody of the treatment facility when it's available. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set, Mr. Carter. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Christopher Solano Denawa, file number, actually, I don't have a file number, council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Edward Hess on behalf of Mr. Solano Denawa for this hearing only.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Solano Denawa, today is the date and time set for an arraignment. I do have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about November 10, 2022, at the area of Lucy and Stillwell in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of controlled substance delivery, manufacture of cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic less than 50 grams. It alleges that you did possess with the intent to deliver less than 50 grams of a mixture containing the controlled substance cocaine. This is contrary to MCL 333.740124. It's a felony and the maximum penalty is 20 years and or $25,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other felony conviction. There's a count 2 of controlled substance possession of analogs. It alleges that you did knowingly or intentionally possess the controlled substance amphetamine, contrary to MCL 333.74032B2. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 2 years and or $2,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong portion. Controlled substance possession of analogs is a felony. Maximum penalty is 2 years and or $2,000 in fines. Count 3 is police officer assaulting, resisting, obstructing. That alleges that you did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger Officer Lucas Kilborn, a police officer of the Lansing Police Department that the defendant knew or had reason to know was performing his or her duties contrary to MCL 750.81D1. That's a felony, and that has the maximum penalty of 2 years and or $2,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed under a place of confinement or under the law for another violation arising from the same set of transaction or events. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty? Mr. Solano?
Yes.
Okay, I can vaguely hear you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. You have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Hess is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but you have the right to have an attorney represent you throughout this criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Is you requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of the preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of establishing that there is sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. You have the right to proceed to trial in this matter, and you have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial, and you have the right to present evidence at trial that you believe would further defenses to this charge or to these charges. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt, and you have the right to the presumption of innocence until they prove each of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay?
Okay.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, how is he pleading?
Not guilty.
Okay, the court will enter a plea of not guilty. What's your address, sir?
1706 Kelly Road, Mason, Michigan, 4A54.
Are you employed?
No, not right now.
What's your phone number?
517-272-7306.
You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward on November 23rd, 2022 at 1 p.m. You have preliminary examination before Judge Ward. That's going to be in person at the court, December 2nd, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. Your probable cause conference can be held via Zoom. You should have received Zoom instructions along with your notice to appear. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. You can address bond counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I would respectfully ask that Mr. Solano be released on personal recognizance with appropriate court orders in place. Specifically, the potential of court orders for drug or alcohol testing, considering the alleged substance-related nature of this offense. Mr. Solano has stable housing, living, as the court can see, in the Mason area. He's not currently employed. He does have health insurance, and he would like to find a job. So I'd respectfully ask that the court release him on his personal recognizance so he can go home to his family. Thank you, Your Honor.
Bond will be set in the amount of $5,000 personal recognizance while out on bond. So you need to make sure you appear to court for all of your court dates, okay? You're not to be in possession of drugs, alcohol, or marijuana unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of this court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. Not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services, and I'm going to order that you participate in regular testing for your analysis, okay?
All right.
Do you have any questions for the court about your bond?
No.
Any additional matters for the record today, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your
Mr.
Veterans Day, Your Honor.